Hello, I'm BBM, and this is Chapter 2 of my Tearing Sega 0% Growth playthrough. So, in Chapter 2, not only do we get a lot of new units, we get the Battle Preparations menu. So, the Battle Preparations menu is actually one of my least favorite things about Tearing Sega. So, firstly, in the Unit Selection menu, when you're selecting which order to put your units in, the game doesn't tell you which slot corresponds to which position on the map. So you're forced to guess and check to get the correct configuration you want. Secondly, in the item preparations, you can't trade an item directly from one unit to another. You have to have the first unit deposit it in the convoy and then have the second unit pick it up. It doesn't really matter all that much, but it is one of those really frustrating things. Some of the things I did in the item preparations. So, firstly, I gave Neron a Swim Spear. The main purpose of this map is just to feed kills to Neron. At least the way I'm playing this map. And he actually has really bad skill. His base skill is 3. It'll be good when he promotes. But for right now, the Slim Spear should help him against the sword enemies in this map. I also had him switch Iron Swords with Runin. If you remember, that's the Iron Sword that I said was special near the end of the last map. So weapons in this game work similarly to Fire Emblem 4. Once they hit 50 kills, every additional kill on the weapon grants the weapon 1 extra point of crit. So this Iron Sword that we got from the village is special in that it already starts off with 50 kills. In Fire Emblem 4, you have easy access to repairing. You just go to the armory and bam, your weapon is fully repaired. In Tearing Sega, you have to use either repair staves or hammers. There's no armory, and neither of those things are readily available at the beginning of the game. So a weapon that starts off at 50 kills is quite useful. There is one other thing though that Fire Emblem 4 doesn't have. When a weapon gets to 100 kills, firstly it stops getting crit, like in Fire Emblem 4, but also one of two things can happen. So the first thing that can happen is nothing, and the second thing that can happen is that the weapon can become a devil weapon, which means that it can gain the ability to backfire on the unit using it. Luckily, it's very unlikely that this will happen because it's very unlikely that I will get a weapon to 100 kills. While the 50 kill Iron Sword is nice, there are a lot of really good weapons in this game, and I don't think there's a point to using a hammer or a repair staff on the 50 kill Iron Sword. So we get a lot of new units in this map. We get 2 new units right from the beginning. In our map preparations, we get Raffin and Esther. Raffin is really good. He's the Jigen of this game, kind of. He starts off in the promoted Commando Knight class, which means his base stats are quite decent. However, what makes Raffin really good is that about a quarter of the way into the game, there's an event which allows him to promote again. And not just into any class, he gets to promote into Dragon Knight. So, not only does he get stat boosts, he also gets the ability to fly, which means that Raffin is going to see quite a bit of use. Second new character is Estelle, or Esther. She's supposed to be the 3rd Cavalier, rounding out the trio of her, Arcus, and Christ. She's probably the worst of them, in 0% growth anyways. Her base stats are even worse than theirs. Then we have Julia, who's the mermaid that we start off with at the bottom right of the map. She's okay, but her base strength is quite low, and plus we get 2 more Myrmidons and a Swordmaster later on in the game, and all of them are better than her, so there's really no point in using her. Then in the top left, we start off with Bartz and Entei. Not spelled the same as the Pokemon. Entei is, on first glance, just your average early game cleric. However, unlike most of them, she is quite important, which means she is mandatory in most of Runin's chapters from here on out, and her death results in a game over. So she's practically a lord. She's okay enough. nothing really much to say about her other than that she has a save staff. So the save staff is something that's not in any other game. What it does is that it allows you to create an in-game save, a permanent save that is not like a quick save, which will come in handy in quite a few maps where with really difficult bosses or with just very difficult enemy phases. Then we have Bart. He's decent. He's just as strong as Garo, well, almost as strong as Garo, and with just as good speed, but with much better accuracy, and he also has one higher movement. So this makes him quite a bit more useful than Garo. Unfortunately, he will fall off sooner rather than later, but still he'll be useful in the short term. There's one more character that's recruited in this chapter, but we'll get her near the end and we'll talk about her then. So I promised to talk about skills in this chapter. Skills in Tearing Sega are sort of similar to Fire Emblem 4, but with some elements from Fire Emblem 13 added in, and also some extra stuff that's unique to Tearing Sega. Firstly, every unit has a mix of both personal and class skills. However, like in Fire Emblem 13, units can gain skills as they level up. In Fire Emblem 13, however, units in the same class will get the same skills at the same levels. In this game, there's no standardization. Units in the same class will get different skills at different levels, which serves for a lot of variance between units of the same class. It's part of what makes Neon so good. He gets Elite as a personal skill right from the beginning, and he also gets both Big Shield and Blazing Wind as part of the Gold Knight class, and he also gets Remove or Kanto later on. And by the way, when I said that every unit gets skills, I meant every unit except for Lee, who strangely enough never gets skills and doesn't have any to start off with either, but we didn't recruit him, and I'm not yet sure whether we will recruit him either. So now I'm going to talk about some of the events in this chapter. The very first one that you might have seen was on one of the first turns. I had Arceus and Estelle talk to each other. I didn't really show the conversation, but that conversation is this game's version of supports. Basically, both in the story and in the actual chapters itself, there are situations where two units get a support. They're kind of like supports are in Fire Emblem 5, where one unit gives a bonus to hit and evade to another, and sometimes they give it to each other. So the one that I triggered earlier with Arceus and Estelle had Arceus give a 4% boost to Estelle. There's another support conversation that can be triggered in this map between Runan and Entei. Unfortunately, I forgot to get it, and then I was too lazy to replay the map just to do that. So it won't make too much of a difference, but yeah, you guys should know that it existed, and I forgot to get it. Other than that, the other events in this chapter are that the houses in the bottom right, at least the two ones on the bottom, you get special things from having Bartz and Entei visit them that you don't from other characters, which is why I've been having them move there as fast as they can every turn. By the way, I really apologize for how long this map is. It's because in my first 0% Ghost playthrough of this game, where I got like a couple chapters in, Neon promoted, I think, at the end of chapter 4, and I was like, you know, I'm doing a video playthrough this time instead of a screenshot, or not even a screenshot, like a paragraph playthrough, so I should try to promote Neon earlier rather than later, so that you guys get to see how awesome he is earlier rather than later. But then I didn't take into account the fact that that would mean a lot more turtling, which isn't really very enjoyable to watch. So I will try to make the chapters after this, if not LTC exactly, they will be more efficient. They won't have me, they won't involve rapid, like, chipping people and then running away so that, you know, Neon can kill them. By the way, that was me, getting fed up with people missing that dude, and just like, let's just screw it, let's just have Rapid finish him. Yeah, there isn't really much in this map other than me feeding as much experience into Neron as I can. What is amusing though, you'll see in a little bit after this after this wave of enemies gets killed, is that I actually kind of underestimated how much experience I could feed to Neron if I just turtled and have him kill as much stuff as I could. So there's a point where he actually where I actually have to have him stop fighting because he could miss that 2-level window I talked about earlier. By the way, there you saw another thing that I don't like about Tearing Sega. So it's kind of similar to the item preparations thing I talked about. When you want, like in other games, when you want a unit to change items after they've already moved, you can have a unit, you know, trade with them and then have them just switch their items around. But it doesn't quite work out very easily in this game. You basically have to have the person trading with them move all their other items out of their inventory so that the one you want to get to the top gets to the top, and then move the items you moved out of the inventory back into the inventory. And this is one of those things again that from a user interface type of standpoint is just annoying about this game. So yeah, this enemy phase was kind of me not really bothering to optimize Iron Sword kills. When I gave the 50 kill Iron Sword to Neron at the beginning of the map, my intention was that he would just be finishing units off like this, so that the Iron Sword would get a lot of kills without me having to expend very many uses. But then as I actually started playing, I ended up having him like take a bunch of units on enemy phase like that, and that kind of didn't work out. But anyways, like I said, I'm not really gonna try too hard to get a lot of kills on this sword anyways. Also, something I forgot to mention earlier, but meant to, you may have seen the screen kind of blink out and then blink in a couple times. That's not me using save states, I promise. That's my video recording tool being really shit and having a max video recording length for the free version. So every 5 minutes and 1 second exactly, you will see that happen because that's me starting a new video. So if anybody has any good recording tools that are also really easy to use, because I'm technologically challenged and free, please tell me. It'll make things much more easier. Bonus points if it outputs files in MP4 and not FLV, so I don't have to spend like an hour converting it into something that Windows Movie Maker can interpret. So sorry for everything sounding so choppy. Part of that is because I'm ad-libbing, and I'm not using a script because, you know, I don't really have time for that stuff. But it's also because I'm recording my video clips and my audio clips in segments. So, you know, the interfacing between them is not good. And here we see Entei recruiting our newest character. Whoa, wait, sorry, never mind. That will be the next house. There we see Entei getting a healing fruit. That's an upgraded version of an herb. Herbs heal 10 HP. These heal 20 HP. So earlier I said that I didn't have any new mechanics to talk about, or at least for a while. Turns out I lied because I just remembered one. So every Fire Emblem game has Terran. What Tearing Sega has that's really cool is it classifies every map as the Terran, which is most predominant in it. So for example, the first two maps, chapter 1 and this one, the most predominant terrain is plains, like regular ground. So the entire map were classified as plains type maps. So if I had any units with the skill Plains Fighter, they would get 1 extra movement and also 10 extra accuracy and evade for the entire map. Later on, we'll see maps with different terrain types like cities and frontiers and mountains and seas, and we'll see how our units get extra movement and accuracy and evade there. So now, here is, after Bartz kills this dude, or misses, okay, no, there he kills it, okay. So now, after this, we see Entei recruiting our next character, possibly the most important character of this, the new character in this map, other than maybe Raffen, is Plum. So Plum, she starts off as a cleric with who can heal. However, she's like Tina, or sorry, not Tina, Laura from Fire Emblem 5, in that there's an event later on in the game which changes her class to Dancer. So even though I'm not playing for turns, Dancers are always really useful, so we'll see her come in handy. And by the way, this is that portion of the map I talked about earlier, where Neron actually gets, his level becomes a little higher than I expected it would, so I kind of have him stop fighting. I had him tag along just for the hell of it anyways. I didn't, as you can see, I didn't really bother moving anybody else other than Raffen, Bartz, Runen, and Neron. In hindsight, I should have also waited a little for Entei, or maybe just had Entei heal Raffen before Raffen left. Because as you'll see here, Raffen gets knocked down to 1 HP, which means he's kind of using him is pretty risky now for the rest of the map, unless I want to have him go all the way back. So you probably didn't notice earlier, but Entei actually got an entire 24 experience points for healing somebody, which is quite a step up from GBA games, which give like 11 experience for a heal. That would be really cool if, you know, Entei could gain stats, but she can't, so still worth mentioning. Anyway, so yeah, since Raffen has 1 HP, I'm just having Bartz kill these last dudes. Oh yeah, one other thing. You might have seen that Plum picked up an item called the Ran's Mirror, or Lance Mirror. So that is an item that gives plus 5% to the hit and evade rates of people around them, in a 3 square radius of the person holding it. So it's kind of like a item version of Charisma, but weaker. So people who followed my Fire Emblem 6 casualty run before its ignominious end might remember that a lot of the times I'm kind of just like YOLO. So yeah, even though it's not really a good idea, I kind of just had Raffen attack the boss with a needle spear. Luckily he dodged. I'm not really sure what my reaction would have been if he hadn't, because I'm not using save states like I did in that run, so I would have had to do the entire map over again, which would not have been fun. But luckily he did not get hit. Yeah, so here I had Runen switch to the Iron Sword, because now if he'd landed both of these hits, he would have just finished off the boss. Unfortunately, he landed neither of them. Yeah, I kind of wanted Runen to get the kill just because, you know, Neron's not going to have any trouble hitting level 10 in the next chapter. And after that, he's going to get so many levels with Elite and just destroying everything. Whereas Runen will see a little bit of trouble getting levels. And, you know, it's not that Runen can get stat ups from levels. Yeah, actually, so I'm not really sure why I thought it was a good idea to have Runen get the boss kill. Yeah, but, you know, Raffen just finishes them off with a hand spear hit anyways, so whatever. And that is chapter 2. I will see you next time.